Nancy with San Bernardino County Regional Parks, and today we're here at beautiful Guasti Regional Park in Ontario, and the fishing has been amazing. Did you guys see that trout that I caught? Well, now it's time to clean it. So stick around and I'll show you how. Alright, so this is our trout that we caught. It's approximately 2 pounds. Reeled it in on some good old power bait. And what we're going to do is we are going to start by descaling our trout. When you cook your trout, if it's going to be prepped with the skin on, you're always going to want to descale it to get rid of those big scales that can have more of a fishy taste. This is especially important in ocean fishing where the fish are larger and their scales are bigger. So what you do is you take the back of your knife and you're going to go ahead and just start scraping up from the tail to the head. And you'll notice as you're scraping, those scales are popping off of that trout. Now, you can actually buy what's called a descaler at any sporting goods store, but the back of your knife works perfectly good. So once you do one side, you're going to flip it over and you're going to go ahead and descale the other side of your trout. Like I said, if you're going to be cooking it with the skin on, preparing to eat the skin, you always want to descale. Now, once your fish is descaled, you're going to want to go ahead and rinse it off. So you're going to need a water source, whether it's a bucket of water or a spigot of water. You will definitely need that water source when cleaning trout. You also need a knife and a plastic baggie to store your fish in if you're not going to cook it right away. All right, so now our fish has been descaled. We're going to rinse off our knife and we're going to go ahead and start the cleaning process. So what you do is you turn your fish over so the belly of your trout is exposed. You take your knife with the sharp end pointed forward, and if you're a youth, you're going to want to get your parents' permission or adults' help to do this. But basically you take the sharp point of your knife and your fish, which is upside down, and you're going to insert that into the hole that is right above their back fin on their belly. So you're going to stick that knife into the fish until you hear a nice little pop. Okay, once you hear that pop, you're going to stop. You don't want to go any further into your fish because you don't want to risk cutting away the bones from the spine, because as I'll show you in a little bit, trout's bones are very tiny. But once you have your knife inserted into your fish, you're going to cut upwards in between the two fins all the way up to the chin of the fish or the gills of the fish. So you'll have one line all the way up your fish. That will then expose the guts to your fish that we need to clean out. The more you can get out of the inside of your fish, the less fishy your fish will taste. So what we're going to do first is we're going to go ahead and move these guts and organs around a little bit to make sure that there's no bait or hooks inside of the trout. Even though we might have gotten ours back, we don't know what that trout ate before us catching it, so you're always going to want to check. You don't want to risk poking your finger with a hook or a jig that might have been in that belly of the trout. But as we can see, there's nothing in here that will harm us, so we can go ahead and move on to the next step of cleaning our trout. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your knife and you're actually going to cut behind the front two fins of your trout at a catty corner. So they start from the belly and go behind the fin up to the gill of the fish. Okay? Once your two fins are loose, you're then going to go under the chin where the two gills come together, and you'll notice that it's connected. You're then going to take your knife and you're going to cut that so that the chin or the lips are separated from the throat of the trout. This is the part that can be a little bit interesting, but then what you're going to do is you're going to grab your index finger. Underneath the mouth of that trout, you're going to stick your finger down its throat. You're going to hold the head with the other hand, and then you're going to go ahead and pull. As you pull, you will notice that all of the guts to that trout came out in one big chunk. That way you don't have to worry about digging in there and trying to get that all out. So as you can see now, all of our internal organs of our trout are out. So now we're gonna go ahead and rinse. So you'll go back to your spigot or your bucket of water, whatever your source is, and you're gonna rinse that out the best that you can. The next step is to get rid of this bloodline. Inside on the back of your trout will be a dark line. We want to get rid of this to keep that fishy taste out of the trout. So what you do is in one hand you turn your trout upside down. With your other one, I always use my thumb. You can use back of a spoon, the back of your knife, whatever tool is more comfortable for you. But I always use my thumb because my thumb is always with me. So I'm going to grab my thumb and I'm going to press it into that same area that we started and inserted the knife at. And I'm going to drag my thumb all the way up the back of the trout. When I do that, you will notice that all of that blood is now loose and able to be rinsed out. So now that my blood is all loose, I'm going to rinse it one more time. Now with the larger fish, it's going to be a lot messier because of course they have a lot more organs, a lot more blood, but we're going to want to rinse it the best that we can, getting all of that blood and guts outside of the trout. Okay, so it is pretty clean for right now for storage purposes. You will notice the meat is very pink, which means it's good to eat. It'll be very yummy. You'll notice too that the bones are starting to pop up from that meat. So these are the tiny bones that I mentioned being careful of. But at this point, you are done cleaning your trout, and you can either prep it or you can wrap it up and put it in the refrigerator for a later meal. If you decide to put it in the fridge, you're going to want to grab a Ziploc baggie. Or if you have one of the food storage machines, you're going to want to put it in a machine like that. You're going to put your trout inside of your baggie. Try to press all of the air out of your bag. Wrap it as tight as possible. And then you can put it into your freezer for storage. These fish will last approximately 6 months in the freezer if you wrap them properly. You also have the option, if you choose, to remove the head and the tail of your trout. It all just depends on how you're going to prep it and how you're going to cook it. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and leave our head and our tail on because we're going to prep this fish in a barbecue fashion. All right, guys, so if you get a chance, come on down to your local regional park and try your luck at fishing. Maybe you'll catch a big rainbow trout. If so, share it with us on our social media accounts, Facebook and Instagram. Thanks for joining